Boston Bay said he called those outcomes. Big NBA brain. You didn't though. Remember, you said you thought Denver was going to win 110-98 or something like that. So nice try, bro. Nice try, Boston Bay's coming in here saying shit like that. Although you did call the Pacers one though, so I'll give you a little bit of credit. I give you a little bit of credit. Didn't you say? I thought you said Denver was going to win. All right, sorry, we're still vamping here to see if we're live. Ooh, we are live on YouTube, baby. Let's go. All right. Veronica's here. RIP Mike's bags. You're not kidding. You're not kidding, Veronica. Those underdog bags. Whoo, boy. We advanced 16 teams into the second round. I mean, into the conference finals round, which is like really impressive, except only one of them is now alive. So, woof. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. All right, let's get into it. Okay, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the games in reverse order. All right, we're going to go Wolves Nuggets, then Knicks Pacers, and then Mavs and OKC. And then after we do that, we'll preview the next round a little bit. We've got some other fun stuff to get into. Just a reminder, too, if this is your first time here, join the room. If you're over here on Playback, if you're watching on YouTube, come on over to Playback and see a link in the show notes. The conference finals start tomorrow. Basically goes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I believe, this week. So I'm sure Stevenson Weisberg will be firing up for Celtics and Pacers, which game one is tomorrow. And then I'll be back in action on Wednesday for Mavs Timberwolves game one. But it's going to be pretty spicy. But hope everybody had a nice weekend. All right. Hope you guys had a great weekend, a good start to the week. We're going to take a coffee sip and we're going to get freaking rolling. Happy National Quiche Lorraine Day. That's a huge day. Huge day for Snoop Loop. Thanks for sharing that. Let's go. All right. It's time. Last night's game was insane. That was one of the wilder performances that I've seen from. It was literally two different games. It was two different games. You had a first half and a second half. While I was watching it with the boys, Stevenson Weisberg, I even commented. I was like, man, feels like Jokic isn't really super involved in the game. And then you look down and you see that Jokic, I think at halftime had 10 points, 14 boards, and 5 dimes or something like that. But the difference in this game, two things. Jaden McDaniels and Karl-Anthony Towns kept them in this game in the first half. McDaniels, who I had highlighted earlier, had struggled shooting on the road. His road home splits were crazy. McDaniels single-handedly propped them up yesterday. He goes 7 for 10 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, finishes the game with 23 points and 6 boards. But it was freaking Karl-Anthony Towns. It's time to give Cat some flowers, baby. Karl-Anthony Towns, who has been made fun of a ton, right? Has been made fun of a ton. And, some justified, some not justified, says some corny stuff. Has had trouble with, has had foul trouble in the past in the playoffs. He's had some real dumb things come up. Last night, literally put the team on their back because the Denver Nuggets were throwing so many double teams at Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards could not get going for the life of him. And yet, Cat was the guy. Cat finishes the game with 23 points and 12 boards. I also thought there was a great clip. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I thought I had it pulled up, but I don't. Here we go. We're going to share this short here between Ant-Man and Cat after the game. And I got to tell you, I think Anthony Edwards has just single-handedly not only changed the narrative of Karl-Anthony Towns as the basketball player, also as the funny man. Is Cat funny now? Do we have to reevaluate where we're at here? Let's take a look at this. I think I have the volume off. Let's turn it on. Here we go.
Usually in NBA history, it says you have to lose and lose big before you win. What is it about this team that says
we lost last year?
Yeah, but that's different. You have to lose at a bigger stage. Usually, teams usually.
It's the playoffs. We lost last year.
We lost the last 2 years. Shit.
God damn. How much more we got to lose?
Yeah, how much you want us to lose?
We're losing for 20 years.
I mean, that's just the truth, dog.
Dude, it's incredible. That's incredible. I did not think Cat had that in his bag. All right. So we have to give Cat some comedy flowers. We got to give him some comedy flowers. This range of outcomes for Karl-Anthony Towns. Whew. Super Carl says, I've had 9 years in this league. Ant says, fuck them 9 years. We had Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. We've had Kevin Hart and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We've had Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Well, let's open up our eyes to Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Give them a movie. All right. Give them a movie. Also, hey, reminder, if you're on YouTube, come on over to Playback. What are we? Daniel Pedro in the chat. Let's go, Daniel. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Again, though, and Anthony Edwards, I think what really swung the series or swung game 7. Jamal Murray goes out there, and I think he scored 23 or 25 points in the first half. Just was awesome. Was getting into the paint, was hitting some really tough step back shots, knocked down a couple of threes too. And like the way when Jamal Murray is cooking, Denver cooks. And though Anthony Edwards finishes this game, I believe 6 for 24 from the field. 6 for 24, 2 for 10 from 3. He finished with 16 points, 8 boards, and 7 dimes. But the thing that Anthony Edwards did in that second half was lock Jamal Murray the fuck up. He really did. And once that happened, you could see Denver was no longer getting good shots. Jokic, I think, ended up taking 10 3-pointers, and a lot of those, and he was 2 for 10 from 3 as well. A lot of those came late in the shot clock at the top of the key, like could not get into the paint. And that's because Jamal Murray wasn't cooking anymore. And if Jamal Murray's getting locked down, now you're asking guys like Michael Porter Jr., or Aaron Gordon to create some offense, and it just was not happening. So I know a lot of people will look at Anthony Edwards and be like, oh, maybe he's more like Kobe instead of Michael Jordan shooting 8 for 400 in a game 7 or whatever. But the way Anthony Edwards played defense in that second half was really, really impressive, and he should get a lot of credit for that. And there was a great tweet that I'm going to put in the chat right now that I was like, I guess I hadn't really thought about it like this, but this guy named John here, I'll put it in the chat right now, said, if Anthony Edwards wins a ring out of the West at 22, we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations about Devin Booker and Ja Morant. I don't even think it's that uncomfortable of a conversation. I think if you look at the West specifically and you look at the entire landscape of guards, are you Luka over Anthony Edwards and maybe that's it? I mean, and I don't want that to be too reactionary, but I think what separates Anthony Edwards from the Bookers and the Ja Morants is that he can just play lockdown defense, right? I mean, he can, in a game like that where he shoots 6 for 24, an offensive liability almost in some ways, and then he impacts the game on the other side instead and just shuts them down, shuts down their second best player. I thought that was just really impressive stuff. And as Weisberg said, Cat's defense and specifically his screen navigation was elite last night. And yeah, that was true too. I mean, that was part of the reason that Jokic wasn't able to get into his bag. And when Cat can do that defensively, it allows Rudy, who got cooked in the first half, but was incredible in the second half. It allows Rudy to drop back even further. That shuts off all the Aaron Gordon lob stuff. It was just... It was pretty impressive, man. It was pretty impressive from Minnesota all the way around. And I mean, I just think like this entire playoff series was just had everybody shook, right? Minnesota takes the first 2 games against the defending champs on the road. And you're like, holy crap, that's it. Series is over. Then Denver punches back, winning 3 in a row. And they're like, that's it. I mean, Denver won 3 in a row. There's no way Minnesota can win game 6 and then game 7 on the road. And then for Minnesota to go, they're down 20. In the third quarter, down 20, and still are able to find their way back was just wild, just wild. So congrats to Minnesota, man. I mean, that was just a really impressive game, literally from everybody. I mean, Naz Reid had one of the more impressive stretches in the last 4 minutes. Right. So Boston Base, I said it. Oh, you might have missed it at the top. We're going to talk about the predictions at the end. Yeah, 60-32 run to end the game. It was something. Yeah, I didn't realize they get to 60, but it was something crazy like that. But not so. Karl-Anthony Towns, who managed to stay out of foul trouble for the most part, picks up 2 dumb ones at the beginning of the third quarter, and then I think with 8 minutes left, maybe or 7 minutes left, picks up his 5th foul. They go to Naz Reid, and Naz Reid, if you weren't watching closely, Naz Reid was dog shit in the first half. He was really, really bad. And then Naz comes out in that 4 to 5 minute stretch with Cat on the bench and just goes ham. He had a monster putback dunk while Minnesota was on their run, taking the lead. He had 2, not 1, but 2 blocks on Nikola Jokic, finishes the game with 11 points and 4 boards. And then the backbreaking play of the game, I think the Denver was down 7 with maybe 3:20 to go or something like that. Jamal Murray gets right around the half-court line. Conley picks his pocket and then finds Ant in the corner who knocks down the triple, makes it a 10-point game, and curtains. That was it. Really just, yeah. And then that Gobert fadeaway, that was insane, right? Where it was, I think that was a 2-point game at that time. And it was there was a few seconds left on the shot clock, and Rudy hit a Dirk Nowitzki turnaround jumper. Just incredible stuff. So congrats to Minnesota. We'll talk about Minnesota Dallas here at the end. I think like the one thing to talk about Denver, anytime the way like Twitter works and the media works and how fandom works now is just like the second a team loses, we assume they have to blow it up and they're broken. I don't know what kind of moves Denver has to make. One of the things this offseason that they're going to have to deal with is kind of Bruce Brown part 2. And this time it's with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Do they decide to give him the money or does KCP leave? I don't know. Michael Porter Jr. disappeared in the fourth quarter. In this entire round, I think he got over 10 points just one time in this series. It might have been 2 times, but like when you look at the Nuggets numbers, right? Jokic finishes with 34 and 19. Jamal Murray finishes with 35. The next highest scorer is Michael Porter Jr. with 7 points. 7's not going to get it done. 7 is not great. He did hit like a clutch 3 to tie it up in the fourth quarter, but when you only get 7 from your third highest scorer, it's just, and you're at home. You need some of those guys to step up. They got 7 from Porter, 4 from Gordon, and 5 from Christian Brown, and 5 from KCP, and that was it. So I don't really know what Denver does. Michael Malone was kind of losing his shit in the post-game press conference. A funny thing about the Denver playing in Denver is where they do the press conferences. The away team's locker room is like right behind it. So I'm going to share a quick clip from Michael Malone here after the game. Is another short from House of Highlights. Oh, wait, it's muted.
Absorb
Sorry.
a loss like this after going ahead by 20.
Next question, man. The season's over. That's what's hard. Being up 20. The season's over. You don't understand that. The season's over. It's hard. Stupid ass questions.
I get that Malone's frustrated. I get it. I think the combination of Michael Malone doing that and Jamal Murray throwing a heating pad onto the court in game 2 is making them look a little loserish, being like a sore loser. The other thing, there was a little scuffle towards the end of the game too, where Jaden McDaniels tries to throw himself an alley-oop. Like he bounces it off the ground and then goes up to dunk. And then I think it was KCP goes up and challenges it pretty hard. And then Anthony Edwards is waving to the crowd and they were going back and forth. So I think that will be what I'm excited about is these to me felt like the 2 best teams in the league. And they both seem to be at a place where they're going to continue to be 2 of the best teams in the league. I think Minnesota has a lot of growth in them because of Anthony Edwards. And Denver obviously still is the best player in the world in Jokic, and they still have their core together. So this feels like it's going to be a rivalry moving forward. I thought Jokic's comments after the game were pretty measured. It was pretty great. I really thought he just gave Ant a lot of credit. He gave Cat a lot of credit, showed some love to Mike Conley, and then specifically said, yeah, like this team was designed to beat us, and they were a hell of a team. I think Tim Connolly, the president of basketball operations for Minnesota, comes out looking like a huge winner, right? He develops this Denver team that goes on to win a championship, drafts Nikola Jokic during a Taco Bell commercial, and then he's like, that's not enough. Let me go win with another team, and then knocks them down. So yeah, we'll see what Denver does in the offseason. I mean, the Michael Porter Jr. thing is tough. But I don't see anyone being like, oh, you know what we should do? Trade for a max contract Michael Porter Jr. So I imagine they run this whole team back and hey, maybe this is what somebody who loves horses needed, right? Maybe they were coasting a little bit. Now Jokic goes on a villain era run where he's angry now. He puts on his guru mask and he goes ham. But anyways, congrats to Minnesota. Congrats to Aaron Borland and Rick Souls and the entire Minnesota fan base. I mean, they've gone, what was it, 20 years without anything like this? I mean, there was another stat. I thought I shared this in here. Maybe not. But they were due, man. They were due. Shiggin says, would you rather have Michael Porter Jr. or Kyle Kuzma? Wow. I think for what Denver does, you'd rather have Michael Porter Jr. I mean, Kuzma can create a little bit more on his own, which I think Denver would benefit from. Michael Porter Jr. though is like a lights out shooter that's really tough. Like when he's on, it's tough to get a hand in his face because the dude is a 7-footer. And Stan did say Kyle Kuzma, so you already know the answer is Michael Porter Jr. What's up, Stan? Continue to hold that L. Hey, speaking of Stan, you know what I thought was a pretty fun, a fun nugget, if you will. If the Minnesota Timberwolves go on to win a championship, Karl Anthony Towns will have a ring. Andrew Wiggins will have a ring, and Jimmy Butler will have none. Maybe they should set up an interview with Rachel Nichols afterwards. Maybe they could do it together. Bring Kat and Wiggins together, and they can be like, "This is what ring culture's like. This is what it feels like, Jimmy." I don't know. Something to think about. Something to think about. Hashtag Heady Culture, baby. Hold the L. All right, let's do the earlier game. Let's do an early. Oh, no. Stan, this was said by NBA bit host Mike Zakarian. Let's go into the first game. Pacers just beat the hell out of the Knicks. I went over to this place called Rocky McBride's in Astoria. Rocky McBride's, and I was like, let me go watch this Knicks Pacers game in a divey Knicks bar. And this, I didn't have to stay for the whole game because it was a wrap right away. The Pacers came out and shot like 90%. They could not miss. They could not miss. OG Anunoby gets to start. Josh Hart gets to start. And then OG Anunoby looked like one of those guys, like after a car accident or something, where they have like the tent on their head, right? Where like to keep their neck and back like complete. He was moving around like that. He knocked down like a three, and then he caught with like no time left on the shot clock, catches the ball, has to like turn and hit this jumper, but he turned with like absolutely no twist in his body. Like you do those core workouts, right? He couldn't do that. It was like a full 90 degrees and then got the shot up. He played that first rotation. I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes, and then OG Anunoby was no more. He stayed on the bench the rest of the game. And I kudos to OG for even trying to come back. I thought he was going to be out for like 3 weeks maybe. Josh Hart, too, was playing through an abdominal strain. And you could tell he wasn't 100%. Like, he was giving it a go. I mean, he played like a full allotment. And then Jalen Brunson breaks his hand. Just an insane run by the Knicks. Super Carl in the chat. Oh, wait. Tesla says, why bring an OG? Super Carl said OG wasn't ready to come back. No confidence. Good thing. He's sad. He probably would have hurt himself if he played through. Yeah, I was glad. I mean, shout out to Thibodeau. Showed restraint for the first time in NBA history where he sat OG after seeing that he wasn't able to go. I give OG credit, though. He's due to get a big old contract. He's got injury history, and I'm sure they horse tranquilized him up, and he was like, let me get out there and give it a go. And OG's usually not that guy, right? OG likes to be completely 100% before he gets back onto the basketball court. So I don't know. I'll give him a little bit of credit for running, but let's give the Pacers some love. So the Pacers end up shooting 67% from the field. It's the highest ever in an NBA playoff game. They do it in a game 7 as a young team, no playoff experience, and knocks it down. Halliburton was great. He was way more aggressive than what we saw the last time he was in Madison Square Garden. There's a couple of possessions early on where it seemed like he wasn't going to take those shots. And then I was like, oh, no, not again. And then he finishes the game. In 33 minutes, he drops 26 points and 6 dimes, went 10 for 17 from the field, 6 for 12 from 3. Siakam was really hot in the first half. He gave him 24 and 4. They got Nesmith with 19. They got Turner with 17. Nembhard dropped 20. TJ McConnell dropped 12. All 5 starters in the 6-man in my book, TJ McConnell, all went into double figures. They win that game 130 to 109. And listen, the Pacers have had, we make fun of the Celtics for their Eastern Conference run. The Pacers play the Bucks with no Giannis, no Dame for a game. Then they get this Knicks team who's riddled with injuries. But to have no playoff experience and then, beat Milwaukee and beat this banged up Knicks team, I think even with the Knicks being so thin, you could see a world, right, where the lights are too bright. They're playing game 7 at Madison Square Garden, right? But instead, the Pacers get through, and they'll take on the Celtics in the next round. Hallie making an Eastern Conference Finals before Embiid. I was just about to bring up that Sabonis trade. And I still think both teams probably do it again. I think the Kings are happy that they were good, that they made the playoffs for 1 year of the 2 years that they've had Sabonis, or 2.5 years that they've had Sabonis. But if you're the Pacers, man, you got this like building block of a point guard who seems to be an all NBA caliber level guard who's like very young, just starting to enter his prime. Siakam seems to be like the perfect pairing with Halliburton. He's got he can take over scoring if you need him. It's this like wing/big that's hard to guard. Turner and Halliburton have this great chemistry. So I don't know. And they've got moves to make. They've got a lot of young talent. They're doing this without Benedict Mathurin too, who I think is like a, kind of a pressure cooker off the bench that could come in and just get you 20 at any given time. So we'll see. Both Pacers and Celtics have had the easiest road to the conference finals ever. I was going to say the Sixers, but they actually lost to the Atlanta Hawks that year. But yeah, probably. I mean, the East is in shambles. We'll talk. Actually, let's do that now, right? So let's talk about the Knicks in the same way that we talked about Denver going on into going into the offseason. So I actually think losing this game was kind of fine for the Knicks, right? Because now you're just like, listen, dude, how are we going to win this series? We were without an all-star player in Julius Randle. Our best player broke his hand. OG Anunoby missed half the series. Mitchell Robinson missed most of the series. Hartenstein got dinged up too. They had all of these injuries, so you can kind of just chalk it up to that, right? And then you can retool and come back next year. But I don't know. If you think about what the East is going to look like next year, if you think Orlando gets better, if you think Milwaukee stays healthy, if you think Miami's able to retool, if you think the Sixers, now that they get to get rid of Tobias Harris and bring somebody in like a Paul George or somebody like that, you assume they're going to get a little bit better, right? Where does this Knicks team, if they come back intact, healthy with Brunson, Randall, OG, where do you put them in the East? Like, do you think they really have title aspirations? Do you think they are talented enough that they could come out of the Eastern Conference? Do you think they are in this like 2 to 4 range in the East? Or do you think they have to like take a look at themselves in the mirror and not be like the Trae Young Atlanta Hawks, right? And the Pacers can have a similar conversation that they just kind of like walked into a playoff run like this. I don't know. I don't know what you could get for Julius Randle at this point, too. I mean, that would be the obvious move. I'm not sure who's a free agent for them. I know they need to re-sign OG Anunoby and give him a bag. I'm sure that's already been worked out. I think they still have Josh Hart. I think Dante's still under contract, too. So I'll be curious to see what moves the Knicks make. But I kind of think they're in that like 3 to 5 range, right? I mean, the Pacers are probably going to get a little bit better, too. They're a young team. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know what Knicks moves would make. Tesla said I would say that for the Pacers. No defense usually never gets you to the conference finals. Yeah. No, I think so too. I mean, I think that's an honest conversation. Like, if I'm the Pacers, I probably stay the course. I just wouldn't forfeit assets to try to make a big move right now. But who knows? Let's see how they go against Celtics, right? I mean, I'm ready to just say Celtics in 5. Like, I don't think this Pacers team can really contend with the Celtics. However, I've been wrong before. So maybe it does happen and that they're able to fight a little bit more. But if I'm Indiana, listen, this is all house money. What a run. We're having a great time. We're seeing this young star step up in this way in Halliburton. You're seeing your role players play well. TJ McConnell seems not scared of the moment. Holy shit, that guy's intense. I wouldn't forfeit any assets to try to make. Like, I don't think you're one piece away. But who knows? Maybe they take the Celtics to like 6 or 7. Maybe they beat the Celtics. Who knows? But I will be fascinated to see how New York handles this. But I think if you're a New York fan, hell of it. You were excited about a team for the first time in forever, right? For the first time in forever. Yeah, listen, Common Man, who said Brunson is probably going to ask his daddy and Leon to go get Bridges and Jay Wright. Listen, if they go get Bridges, I think that's a real move. That is a real move if they can get Bridges. I think that would actually move the needle for me a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see. The one other thing that I want to talk about, because I was getting into a little argument online about Tibbs. And I don't think Tibbs is a bad coach. I don't. I think Tibbs is a really good coach. I do think it is insane to not think that maybe playing thousands of minutes was not going to come back and haunt you. You know, we spent a week being like, oh, Josh Hart is built different. He can play 48 minutes a game. Josh Hart actually doesn't sleep. He runs on a treadmill. Well, like, of course, at some point, this was going to happen. You have OG playing 40-plus minutes a game, and people will say, well, OG's only playing 40-plus minutes a game because Bojan Bogdanovic got hurt. And sure, maybe that is part of it. But you saw Alec Burks come out there and give you like 30 last night, or not 30, but like whatever Alec Burks went for yesterday. You've seen bench guys have impact. Why did Burks only play like 2 games in the series? Where was that? Weisberg shared a tweet saying the Tibbs era. Tibbs changed culture. Players embrace. Players perform beyond expectations. Stars born. Expectations form. Deep playoff run as expected. Injuries. Yeah, I just was surprised. And I mean, again, listen, as a Knicks fan, you're probably just like thrilled with this run, fell in love with this team. Everybody has been embracing Tibbs culture. I don't know. I'm just saying it wasn't surprising. It shouldn't have been surprising that OG got hurt, Josh Hart got hurt. I mean, the Brunson one's a freak one. I saw people saying that Mitchell Robinson only got hurt because of the Joel Embiid thing. Brother, that was the wrong ankle. That was the wrong ankle. Also, Mitch Rob gets hurt every year, multiple times. He had already had a season-ending injury, and we were surprised he came back. But Knicks, just have fun. Enjoy it, man. And it was a great run. You get to love your team, and now you don't have to get beaten by the Celtics in the next round. There was a moment where Brunson, and I think I tweeted it maybe I forget where I put it. I think I just tweeted out the Celtics are on an insane heater. Brunson fractures his left hand, right? And then they came back. I think the Knicks cut it to like 8 or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, if the Knicks win this game and the Celtics take on this Knicks team with no OG, abdominal strain Josh Hart, and no Jalen Brunson, that would have been like an incredible run. But yeah, anyways, good run for the Knicks. Congrats to the Pacers. Really proud of you guys. That's fun. There was one other thing on the Knicks that was really cool. After the game, there were like fans outside on 7th Ave, and which is right outside Madison Square Garden for those that live in New York. Brunson and Josh Hart were like going to their cars, and they went out and like hung out with the fans for a second, signed some autographs and stuff. It is cool. It is really cool seeing like the city just embrace those guys in a way that was just unexpected. However, I will say, like, again, and kind of like Weisberg's tweet, now they've got some expectations on him. So if you don't come back and, Brunson now has to play at a top 5 MVP level now. Josh Hart has to be this guy. OG has to step up. So I don't know. We'll see how the Knicks handle this offseason and head into next year. We'll do the Eastern Conference Finals preview in a little bit. We got one more game. Common Man says, my grandma-in-law in Indiana is beyond happy. I'm jumping on the Pacer train. That's nice. That is nice. Jordan Santaga in the chat. Let's go. Let me remind people. Is anybody over on the YouTubes right now? Let me see. What do we got going on over here? If you're watching over on YouTube, come on over to Playback, baby. Come on over to Playback. So Dallas OKC Saturday night. What a win. What a win for Dallas. Again, another team that comes back. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Before that, both road teams winning a Game 7. I thought that was kind of... And they were down 3-2, won 2 consecutive games, being down 3-2. Thought that was interesting. Anyways, OKC takes down, Dallas takes down OKC. Excuse me. My apologies to the Common Man and to Keith Tucker if he's here. They win that game 117-116. Luka goes for 29, 10, and 10, a triple-double in a closeout game. You got 22 from Kyrie, who was dog shit in the first half, and then picked it up in the second half. PJ Washington. There we go. There's the drop for everybody. PJ, who was terrible in the first half. Actually, the first 3 quarters, didn't score until the fourth, I don't think. Hits monster shots in the fourth quarter down the stretch. Finishes the game 9 points and 5 boards. Also, Derek Lively was plus 26. The rookie Derek Lively was plus 26 and was an absolute monster on the board. Finished the game with 12 points, 15 boards, and 3 dimes. And man, every time it seemed like OKC they got a tough stop. Derek Lively comes out of nowhere, whether he tips the ball up in the air, gets it for the putback, was even knocking down free throws. He went 2 for 3 from the line. Still knocking down free throws, and Dallas just with the tough fought win there. That was kind of really the only series that gave us close games. Just like game after game was relatively close. And now they move on to the conference finals. This is their second conference finals in the last 3 years. Weisberg saying they hate how that game ended. So they had, what was it? PJ Washington over in the corner. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander comes over for the block, makes a lot of contact on the ball. But I guess the rule is, which I didn't know this, but the rule is if the ball hasn't left his hand yet, right? So if he gets ball first and then the ball leaves the hand and then he makes contact, it's not a foul. Wow, Bandy came in hot. It's not a foul. But if he's still holding on to the ball when the contact happens, then it's a foul. So I didn't know that rule, but it is. I mean, everybody seemed to agree on it. It is a rule. So, and that is true, Keith. It was so funny. Shea did, right? Kyrie did. Kyrie got the putback and put it back up. I think they would have just called it Dallas ball, though. They wouldn't have got the bucket for it. Super Carl said Shea knocked out Jokic, knocked out who's the real MVP? It's Jokic. It's Jokic because it's a regular season award. I also think I saw something that this is the first time since 2014 maybe that we haven't had an MVP in the Final Four. And I think it was Steph Curry is the last MVP to win a championship, which I didn't know that either. But anyways, yeah, wow. FedEx is like zinging outside, backing up, going like 40 miles an hour. Not great, Bob. But man, OKC resilient because I think they were down 19 or 20 and they went on a run. There was a game of runs in this one. OKC was up 7 after the first quarter, and then they were up 16 going into halftime. And then the Mavericks outscored them by 9 in the fourth and 9 in the third and 8 in the fourth to get the W. So that was a pretty big second half from the Mavericks. And you know what? I can't believe I'm doing this. Shout out Jason Kidd, man. Jason Kidd, pretty good coach this series, right? I never say that. And I feel like Kidd kind of held his own a little bit. Super Carl said OKC must have had the fastest rebuild in sports history. Yeah, I know everybody. We always think like that they had been tanking this whole time, but they were also in the playoffs with Chris Paul and SGA in the bubble. So it was really just like 2 or 3 seasons. But it's funny, man. The West is going to be good for a while, right? We're talking about the East being in shambles, and we already mentioned that Denver and Minnesota are going to be rivals for years to come. You look at like Dallas is built for the next few years to be in contention. OKC is only going to get better, even though we'll talk about that Twitter discourse in a second. And then you look at those old heads of like Phoenix, Golden State, and the Lakers, and you're like, man, when are they making a jump? Yeah, and Weisberg says Spurs and Memphis will be better next year as well. I don't know how quickly Memphis is going to make Spurs are going to make a run, but Memphis absolutely. Yeah, Houston was really battling. Who else are we forgetting? Do the Kings finally make a move, or do they just keep running it back? We'll have to wait and see. But anyways, kudos to Dallas. We'll look at the Western Conference in a second. I wanted to talk about the Western Conference Finals, I wanted to talk about the discourse around the Thunder afterwards. I got to tell you, man, people are insufferable. I don't know if people are listening to too many podcasts or what's going on, but everybody this entire year heading into the playoffs, we're like, oh, they're too young. OKC's too young of a team. They don't have playoff experience. They need to take their licks first. They don't expect big things. Then they get out of the first round. They take the Mavericks to 6 games in a very competitive series. I think Dallas fans would even say that was Dallas was the better team, but OKC was right there with them in most of those games. And then everybody's like, why didn't they trade 4 first-round picks for Nick Claxton or Daniel Gafford at the deadline? Like, which one is it? Which one is it? Do they need to have playoff reps and experience before they make their run? Or are they supposed to be selling off all their assets right now to make a run? Mike says Gordon Hayward Gordon Hayward's done. Tesla said Presti time to cash in those picks. I just think I think it's important when you have a team like this, especially such a young team with a pretty tight core, that maybe you see what you've got first before you decide which direction you need to go, right? You have no idea what you're going to get exposed with in the playoffs. You don't know yet. And I think they did learn some stuff. I think I saw Kevin O'Connor. I know Weisberg made this take too, where there was go draft Zach Edey. Okay. I would much rather go after somebody like a Jared Allen or Nick Claxton or somebody in that range a little bit. Although I mean, if you're OKC and you're Presti and you're Mark Dagnall, you play like a 5 out. Common said I can tell you Dorton Giddey ain't it, and Chet needs to be a 4. I think it would be. I think Chet can Chet defend 4s though? Chet's more of a rim protector. I do think they need another big. They do have to go get another big for sure. And Giddey won't be there. And they have all the picks in the world. They have cap space too. They can absorb a lot of different contracts. So I would venture to guess that, Giddey's definitely not going to be on the team next year. Giddey's definitely not going to be on the team next year, but they have a lottery pick. They've got cap space. They've got 14,000 picks coming. OKC's fine. I think everybody overreacting a little bit, just yelling about him. What do you got? What drugs are we on? What are we talking about? Weisberg won. Well, with the new CBA, it gets weird because of the second apron. They've been very good at drafting generally, so keep your salaries low with draft picks makes sense. Yeah. I think but at some point, if you're serious, you got to make a run. And they're not even close to the second apron. And I know Tessa said that team's going to get expensive quickly. I mean, yeah, you don't have to pay Chet yet, right? Chet you still got for a couple of years. You're not paying Giddey. You know he's on his way out. So it's just, and your J-Dub still on his rookie deal for a little bit. So it's just Shea that you're going to be paying right now. So you still have a couple of years to make the move. And I think the comparisons to Harden, KD, and Russ aren't fair. I mean, I get it because they're like, oh, look, it's a young team in the same city. But like James Harden hated being the sixth man. So like the vibes were different, right? The vibes are different from this team. They seem to clearly love playing with each other. And I mean, OKC is going to be there. I kind of disagree with the discourse quite a bit. But anyways, yeah, Case and Wallace looks legit too. And that's another reason why they can probably because like you'll have to pay Dort at some point again. And while he still has value and Giddey, I don't know what his value is after that playoff series. But you have a guy like Wallace coming up. I know they like the other Jalen Williams, Will. So yeah, Ousmane Dieng. Maybe we get an Ousmane Dieng sighting soon. But we'll see. I think the future's bright for the Thunder. I think people should relax. I mean, I know the Gafford and PJ deal worked out for Dallas, but to me, that makes so much more sense. You already know what you have in Luka and Kyrie as playoff performers. You've seen them you've seen Luka make playoff runs. You already know what you got. It made sense to forfeit that future now because you have Luka in that prime now. You hadn't seen it from OKC yet. You hadn't seen them respond in the playoffs. But anyways, Super Carl says, never forgot the wrong Jalen Williams got 1 vote for Rookie of the Year last year. Yeah, man. Shout out the media, baby. # new media. Congrats to Dallas, though. Congrats to Dallas. Let's do the Western Conference Finals now. So Dallas and Minnesota. I think this matchup's going to be super fun. I was trying to think, do they put, like we saw Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards absolutely lock up Jamal Murray when he needed to. Do they put Ant on Kyrie and Jaden McDaniels on Luka? I was trying to figure out what the defensive matchups were, and maybe people have watched them play in the regular season and have a better feel for it. I was like, do they put Ant on Luka? But I think probably the size of McDaniels is a little bit more is equipped a little bit better to take on somebody like Luka, and then you hide Mike Conley on somebody, or I don't know. I don't really know how they're gonna handle it. Yotza says, who guards Cat? PJ? Yeah, probably they throw him on there. He says regular season games all happen before the trade deadline. Dallas is a different team now. Okay. And Conman says Kyrie and Luka played Wolves once this season. It was W. All right, there we go. So we have no information to make that. Yeah, let's say I'm going to say they throw McDaniels on him. And Paul says Ant post game said he was looking forward to his Kyrie matchup. Yeah. And then I was trying to think of do they put Derek Jones Jr. on Anthony Edwards? Supercall says Jaden on Luka, Ant on Kyrie, DJJ on Cat, Gafford on Rudy, PJ on whoever's left. Yeah, Rudy on PJ, excuse me. Yeah, who do they put on Ant? Does Derek Jones Jr. get that assignment? I feel like this is going to be a fun series. I do think it makes sense for Minnesota to be favored. They are the home team. I mean, they did just take out Denver. And I know I've posed this question before, but do you think Dallas fans last night were watching that game rooting for Minnesota or rooting for Denver? I know Common Man said, I think you said last night you were actually rooting for Denver because Jamal Murray didn't look 100%. But what do you think the common consensus was? Because I even had Celtics fans who were like, oh, thank God Denver got eliminated. And I get it because they're defending champs. They've got Nikola Jokic, right? They seem like they are the best team in the world. And so you feel like you're given a gift. But I mean, somebody beat the best team. So maybe they weren't the best team. Maybe we have a new best team. So I don't know if anybody should be thrilled about Minnesota. And the way they defend, man, that's like the one thing that translates. Although, you know what we can lock in for? And this is no shade because I love Luka Magic. We created a drop for him. if they are able to defend like they were in games 1, 2, 6, and 7, Minnesota, that is, we are going to have a lot of Luka bitching. It's going to be a lot of Luka bitching. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how Luka handles that, because there's going to be a lot of handsy stuff, especially if he's getting dwarfed with McDaniels. And as talented as McDaniels is as a defender, I mean, the way Luka plays, he still should be able to do stuff. No, they not in the common man. Cat does. I'll give you Cat. Anthony Edwards doesn't. I mean, Anthony Edwards is doing a lot of clapping at the refs last night. I think we can agree. I want you to take your Mavericks tattoo off for a second. We can agree that Luka's probably a little bit worse at it, right? I think we can all. And I love him. I love him. Weisberg said if we get a Mavs Celtics final, we get Luka versus Tatum. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. I'm excited for the series, though, more so than the Celtics-Pacers one, mainly because I really just think the Celtics will smoke them. But I think this is going to be a hard-fought one. I think this will resemble a little bit more of the OKC-Dallas series, where it's going to be a lot of close games. I think it'll be a lot of slow-paced games, too, because I think the way Dallas plays offense and the way Minnesota plays defense is just going to be a lot of late in the shot clock stuff. But PJ should, if PJ can keep, as SGA said, shooting the piss out of the ball, I do think that gives Dallas a little bit of an advantage. I think this is a tough series for Mike Conley defensively. I don't really know where you put Mike Conley. And I agree with Con, man, a lot of 94-91 games. Yeah. I don't know really who do you put Conley on? Yeah, I'm sure Keith, Common Man, Aaron Borland, you guys should all check out betterhelp.com/teamhold for 25% off your next therapy session, because it is going to be, I do think it is going to be stressful, a lot of nail biters. But I'm excited. I am excited for those teams. I mean, obviously for my underdog bags, and you know how I feel about Jokic and Jamal Murray. I have a soft spot for Denver, but I couldn't be happier with that Western Conference Finals. I think that's going to be fun. And I would have been fine with OKC Denver, like either one of those four. I think because the West is just so, parity makes it seem like there's nobody that's good. But I just think like 1 through 4, all of those teams are very close. And they all play a very different brand of basketball. And I just think it's going to be fun. Paul says, what was with how many Minnesota fans were in Denver last night? Yeah, I mean, dude, this is their biggest game in the last 20 years. So I bet people shelled out some cash and they're like, let's go to Denver. Let's go breathe that thin altitude air and scream our asses off. And I don't know. People spent some money. Big series for them. Eastern Conference, Celtics and Pacers. I just don't see a world in which Indiana can win 2 games. I mean, unless they shoot what they did, like, listen, if they're going to shoot 60%, 67% from the field, if they're going to shoot 70% from 3 or whatever it was in the first half, they're banking on variance, on just knocking down a bunch of triples. I do think that the style of basketball they play, the way they move the ball around, could give them some fits. But the way the Celtics defend, I just think they should have no problem. Boston Bay said, hey, since you're in the big city, do you ever hear leaf blowers? Yeah, I do. I do, because I'm in Astoria and there's actually grass and trees and stuff out here. But yeah, I don't think Indiana can hang with them. Now, Porzingis is going to miss at least games 1 and 2. Probably. My guess is if Celtics are able to hold home court for the first time in the playoffs and win both games, that they won't rush them back until they collect their first L, would be my guess. But they just get, I mean, who are they going to throw at Tatum and Brown defensively? Like Nesmith will take one of them. I just don't know who they've got to hold them. And then, I mean, if you get one of Derek White and Drew Holiday to play well, I just don't see who they have that can slow them down. But again, if the Pacers shoot lights out from 3, if Halliburton and Turner with their 2-man game get cooking, sure. And the Celtics have dropped game 2 now in both rounds. And so there is a world which they go back to Indiana, which has Indiana lost at home yet? I think they're undefeated at home in the playoffs, right? They won 3-4, 3-4-6 in the Bucks first round, and then they won 3 3, 4, and 6 in round 2. Yeah, so I don't know. They haven't lost yet at home. So we'll see. I should give them a little bit more credit, but listen, I'd rather just hold that L and be wrong later. I think they win in 5. I think the Celtics win in 5. They'll drop one game for sure. I think they win game 1 and 2. Celtics also haven't lost on the road yet, right? So that'll be a movable object, something force, whatever that stupid saying is. So that's what we'll have over there. But Celtics in 5 there. Also, hey, if you're watching on YouTube, appreciate you. Come on over to Playback. Come hang over here. We're growing over here. We're growing and showing, to be honest. All right. I think that's it. So I'm taking Celtics in 5. I didn't make a prediction on the West yet. Man, it's either Dallas in 6 or Minnesota in 7. Dallas in 6 or Minnesota in 7, which I know is a cop-out, but I kind of lean, I don't know, man. I kind of lean Dallas. But I'm going to save it. They don't play until Wednesday. I'm not making my official prediction until Wednesday morning's NBA bit. I got time, Paul. I got time. But we have Celtics and Pacers tomorrow night. Weisberg and Sneeves, I'm sure, will be firing up game 1 tomorrow of Celtics and Pacers. And then we've got game 1 on Wednesday, which I'll be back for. Keith does say Dallas always loses game 1. That's true. Jason Kidd's never won a game 1, right, in the playoffs. Wow, there's a man with incredibly short shorts walking down the street. All right. So that's a fashion choice. Get those yams out, baby. Get those yams out, baby. All right. There was one other thing I wanted to share. I saw this incredible article. I looked at the top headlines on The Athletic this morning. Here, I'll share a screen for you guys over on Playback. The top headline on the NBA category: Tim Donaghy regrets falling out with Scott Foster. I love that was a story. I'm sure David Stern right now rolling around his grave. He's like, really? We're showing that? We're showing that today? But Tim Donaghy used to be boys with Scotty Foster. They were best friends. Some of you might not know, Tim Donaghy is the godfather for Scott Foster's kiddo, and Scott Foster is the godfather for Tim Donaghy's kiddo. But they haven't talked since Tim Donaghy's been arrested, and he feels bad about it. And he said, I hope when Scott Foster retires, we can become boys again. I just thought that was hilarious that was the top headline on The Athletic today after an incredible weekend of NBA action. I know they had other articles in there too, but that made me laugh that was the top headline. Gave me a good chuckle. Yeah, they called each other before every game. Yeah, Tony Brothers. I mean, Dallas was getting a real tough whistle in that game. There was that incredible highlight of Luka just getting absolutely lit up. But yeah, I don't think we can do a pick'em for today. I'll go over to Underdog just so we can all laugh at my expense for all of my terrible best ball luck. Although, you know what? I'm okay with it. We still ended up getting our money back we broke even on the dance, even though and I guess we still, look at this, man. 4 Denver, 3 Knicks, Siakam, 2 Cavs, 4 Denver, 3 Knicks. This one has 3. So this one will probably get through. It's got Luka, Ant-Man, and Kyrie all on this team. Luka and Kyrie. Then I've got Siakam and PJ Washington and Rudy Gobert. So this will probably get to the next round, but it won't do too much damage. Then there was 5 Denver and 2 Knicks, 4 Denver, 2 Knicks, 2 Pacers. This had 3 Denver, 2 Pacers, 4 Denver and Kyrie, 3 Denver, 2 Pacers, 2 Denver, 2 Pacers, 3 Denver, 2 Pacers, 4 OKC, 2 Pacers, and Ant-Man. So terrible stuff. We did get a bunch of golf ones through too. So we now have 5 lineups left here. 5 lineups heading into the 3rd of 4 majors this year. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, terrible stuff. Anyways, I think that's it. Any of you guys have anything else for me today? That was an awesome weekend of basketball. I appreciate everybody that's been tuning in for all of our Playback stuff. Please keep bringing that energy. We will have the NBA bit Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think I might do, I know Yotsu was asking about a So Rare show. I think maybe at 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern today, we're going to do like a So Rare live before pre-lock or whatever, since we have basically all the injury news and we can kind of break it down. I'll still do a live before lock tomorrow. Just might be a little bit earlier, but since it's normally in my schedule, that's what we do. That's what we do on Wednesday. So, wait, Weisberg, you were on the Light Years pod? Were you over in the playback? Shout out the Light Years pod, dude. You were shocked Tesla's there, dude. Tesla is on every pod. Tesla is a grinder. He is a podcast basketball content grinder. I respect him. I've seen him. I feel like I've seen you in the dunker spot. I've seen you in no dunks. Light Years. Paul said I only got one through Denver. Damn. How do you post a tweet here? Just copy and paste. Just copy and paste the link, or like copy the tweet and share it. But anyways, I think that's it. Yeah, we'll do some SoRare content today and tomorrow. We'll be back for the NBA bit all week this week, and then I imagine we're streaming every single game. I know I can't do tonight because tomorrow night because I host trivia, but we'll do it on Wednesday and Friday. But good shit, everybody. I hope you guys have a good start to the week. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Oh yeah, that is a sick logo. Let's put that on a t-shirt. Sneeps. Also, yeah, and shout out Sneeps and Weisberg, who were logging some serious hours this weekend on playback. And shout out Sneeps, who most I've ever heard him talk last night. He was hyped up. It's good shit from Sneeps. It was a good run from him. All right, let's call it. Let's call it there. Have a great day, everybody. We will see you guys later today for some SoRare content, or tomorrow.